Hey there, my fellow designers and creatives. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another video in this Rive animation course. This video is going to be super important because we're going to be talking about a concept called as blend state, which is the most complicated thing to ever learn. And I'm going to simplify this in the easiest way as I can. I think this is going to be a long video, but stick with me. Basically, what we're going to do in this video is going to look at this blend state. And as you can see, I've created a lot of blend states. It looks very scary, but that's fine. I will simplify this so much for all of you. And essentially what we're doing is when a value is not at these milestones, which is basically at 600 or 780 or 1000, when it is not at these points, all right, let's say the value is 400, I still want to be able to play an animation, right? So if I set this to 400, so let's actually stop the animation. Let's play 400. And when I play this, I still want to be able to control to that much. So it's going to be a very important video. And if you understand this, you're really going to fall in love with Rive because sky's the limit. So without any further ado, let's get started. Now, to explain blend states in a deeper concept, I need to go ahead and take another example. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a new file. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new file over here. Okay. And I'm just going to call it untitled. Just going to create a simple artboard. Now, let's say I have this animation where this ball, all right, moves from one side to the other side. Now, typically, when an animation has to happen, there needs to be a trigger for it. So let's say there was a loading screen, and once the information was loaded, there is a success animation. So for the success animation to happen, there needs to be a trigger, which is basically the data being loaded successfully. So keeping that in mind, let's just build something over here to understand things in more depth. Now, if I go to the Animate tab, all right, I go to my timeline. This is where I would set up the animation, all right? So I'm going to come over here, just click on the X-axis position, all right? And I'm going to come toward the end, which is 1 second, move this over to the right side. So now, as you can see, it's moving. What I also want to do is I want to change the color. So let's go ahead and let's set the default value to be a simple, nice blue color, all right? And I'll come to animate mode. I'm going to click here to animate the color. I'm going to come to the end and I want to change this to probably like a green color. All right. So now if I play this, the color changes to green. All right. And it doesn't really matter, but just making it easing. So it, gives me some peace of mind. That's it. Now this is the animation. Let's say this is the animation that happens when the screen is loaded. Now, what is happening here is that the start state and the end state is on one timeline. All right. And that is because when the information, let's say, is loaded, we just want this animation to play. So we're basically telling the system, hey, do your thing. This is how I have defined you. Go ahead and do it. Do your thing. So if we come back to our primary example over here, let's say I've set the value to 650, or let's say 600, right? When I play the animation, it's just going to do its thing. Like, hey, the value is 600, do your thing, go for it, all right? And if the value is 1000, play all the three animations. Hey, go do your thing. Nobody's going to stop you, right? So play again. Yep, you're doing your thing. Nobody's there to stop. Actually, I need to set it again. So 1000 and then play. So it's going to go ahead and do its thing. Nobody is stopping it. But there are going to be times where we want to control this animation, we want to stop it, or we want to decide how the animation should be. Like it's basically trying to control it every step of the way. So what does that mean? So if I come here to final score and let's say the score is 400, all right, I'm going to pause this. Let's say I set this to 400. Now, when I say 400, the animation is not going to play. Right? Because the animation is only going to play if it is 600. So if I come over here, you can see that it's greater than or equal to 600. But if it's 400, hey, I still want you to play the animation, but don't go all the way to the end. Like I want you to stop in between. Like I want to control how much you animate. I want that power to control how much you animate. You just can't, be a free child just running around. I want to control you. So think of it in that way. So what that means is if I come back to this example, I want to say when something happens, I actually want to control how you move to the end state. You just don't go do it all on your own. So what we then need to do is we need to create something called as a blend state, which is giving us designers and engineers the ability to control that animation. So what that basically means is if I set the value to 400, I want to control this animation, which is basically minus MS animation. And I want to say, hey, I'm telling you play the animation, but I want you to stop in the middle. And I will decide when to stop. And I'm going to give you this instruction. You just can't go and play how much ever you want. So what we now have to do is create a state called as a blend state. I'm going to right click and I can choose something called as a blend state. Now, if I click on add state, that is basically this, right? So I can click on the timeline, I can choose one of that. So that is the first one. And if I click here, you can also see that we have three things. We have the single timeline, we have a blend 1D, and we have blend additive. Now, I'm not going to go into the difference of that because that can be complicated. So, but in this case, I can just add a blend 1D state. So I'll place that. Now, the blend 1D state has a couple of different things. Now, there are too many settings over here. All we want to do is we want to start focusing on the timeline because we want to now define the start state and the end state. All right. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on plus 2 times. All right. Now, if we take a traditional animation that we did here for the ball, you can see it's going from left to right. All right. We defined both the states over here. But what if we can do this in another way? The other way to do this is to create 2 timelines, each having its own state. So instead of putting both the states, the start and the end state in one timeline, we split it across 2 timelines. And every time you are using a blend state, you want to split it across 2 timelines. So I'm going to create a new timeline, all right? And I am going to say progress bar start. Okay? And here what I'm going to say is how should the progress bar look when it's at the start state, all right? So, and obviously we've already done that. This is the start state, right? So here you can see this is the start state. Click on the progress bar, go to our strokes, and here I'm just going to add a keyframe for the start. That's it. We're just defining what is the state. Here you can choose to have 1 frame or 100 frames. It doesn't really matter at this point, all right? I'm just going to define, hey, this is the progress bar start state. And here, let's try to name these, all right? So always use the word animation if it's an animation. If it's a state, mention a state. State is a single state. It's like 1 frame. I also want to define the end state because I want to blend between those 2 states. So I'm going to create a new one, click on timeline. And here I'm going to say progress bar end state. Now in the end state, the end state needs to be 1000 because I want to control everything from 0 to 1000. I just don't want to control 0 to 600. I want to control everything. Because if the value is, let's say, 953, I want to be able to control that, right? So here I'm going to go progress bar, click on the strokes and set the keyframe to 100. So now it goes all the way to the end. So essentially what we now here is we have, if I click on this is the start state where we can see nothing and this is the end state. And now what we will do is we'll click on the blend and then combine these 2 timelines because this is the timelines that we just created. So click on the blend and here I'm just going to add the progress bar start timeline and the progress bar end timeline. So if I go progress bar end state. Now, still nothing happens because we need to tell Rive what is the value for the end state, right? Because if this progress bar end state needs to look like this, when should it look like this? So we need to say, you need to look like this when the score is 1000 points. So I'm going to come back to the state machine here in the blend. I'm going to click here and say, this needs to be 1000. So the end state is going to look like that when the score is 1000. The start state is going to look like that, which is basically nothing, which is basically like this, when the score is 0. All right. And now for this blend state, what you see here is that right now, it doesn't know what this number is. What is 1000? Is it number of apples? Is it number of oranges? Is it number of people? What is it? So we need to say, oh, actually the unit of measurement for this 1000 is actually points or score. So we need to come to input over here and then pick that final score that we created. So now it knows, okay, so now you're telling me this is points, this is score, this is the final score, this is where I'm going to get my number from. So what does that mean? So if I scrub this animation up and down, you can see nothing is happening. But we want to play first. So I'm going to click on play, all right? And now, if I increase this or decrease this, nothing is actually happening because this is not even connected to the entry state, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and add another node over here, all right? And now let's see if this works, okay? Now, as you can see, if I increase or decrease it, I'm able to control the value between these two states. Now, this graph is too confusing and I'm not even going to go ahead and try to explain it. Just ignore the graph. But we see that how the state looks when the point is 0, how the state looks when the point is 1000 is determined by this value. So if I say 500, you can see it stops exactly at the center, which is half of 1000. And if I increase this to 1000, all right. Now, of course, I can exceed 1000, but that's fine. If I set this to 1000, 1000, you can see here that, and obviously make sure you are playing this when you're trying to change values over here. This is how it is going to look. So I can actually control this very well. Now, one of the things here is this thing called as a capture base state. Now, I'm not even going to explain what that is because I don't understand it myself, but make sure that this is turned on. And let me tell you what happens if it is not turned on. I don't know why it works that way, but this is just how it works. So if I turn off capture base state and I play this, right, I can still play it. But if I set the value to be 500, you can see here that this is actually not at 500. This is more than 500. But if I turn on capture base state and then reset the animation, and I now set it to 500, oh, not 599, 500, you can see that it stops in the middle. So basically just always have this checked on. I don't really know what it does and I don't know why it changes. So just have that like that. Now, if I go back to this, now let's go ahead and make this work. So now let's say the score is 600. It goes ahead and plays the animation. Perfect, 600. But what if it is 420? Okay, let's say 430. And I play this now. Now suddenly it jumped to 430. Like it just jumped, as you can see. So if I stop this again, if I say 200 points, it just jumped. Now if I go to the console, you can see here that it is moving from entry to blend and it is playing the blend state. So, and it is actually calculating what the value should be. And this is like me controlling it, saying that, hey, I want you to only go till 200 points. Don't do the entire animation, just 200 points. Now, to add some easing, for it to easily transition, we basically have to click on this part, which is the transition settings. And here we have to set the duration, right? Transition from the entry to the blended state, which is 200, all right, over a period of 1 second, because I want 1 second everywhere. So if it's to here, to here, to here, I just want 1 second everywhere. So I'm going to say 1000 milliseconds, or you can actually say 1s, and that will turn it to 1000 milliseconds. And now if I close this and I play this, now you can see it animates to 200 really well. And if I play this to, let's say 550, which is very close to 600, it goes all the way to there. So now let's play this again. Let's set some conditions. So if I set the value to 200, it plays up to 200. Okay. If the value is 600, all right, it moves on to this one, because here the condition will be met here if the value is only greater than or equal to 600. So if it is not, it will pick the other route. So at this point, it's going to look at the score and say, hey, which road should I take? Should I take 600 more or the other one? If the value is not 600, then I can't enter that road. So then I have to go to this road. All right. And you can actually see it. If I set the value to 400 and I play this, you can see that it transitions from here to here and goes to the blend state. All right. As you can see, now it's in the blend state. We're going to use the same concept and do the other animations. Now, if the value is, let's say 650, what should happen? So if I click play, Now it goes over here. Now I want it to do 650. So now it has to make the choice. Should I go to the blend state or should I go take this road? Now we have two options. Either we can create a separate blend state or we can combine it with this. Now let's see which one works. So let's say I just take this and I combine this over here. So now let's try to make this map a little bit more easily visible. All right. So let's say I make the blend state over here. Okay. So I have two options. I can either go like this on this road or I can go this road. And when I'm over here, let me just pause this for now. Now, because the value is 650, now I played the 600 animation. Now, because I need to play the rest 50, I need to move a little bit. So I need to go to the blend state. Now, if it is 780 or if it is more than 780, I move to the next one. But here it's not. It's less than 780. So I need to go to the blend state. So now let's play this and see how this looks. All right. So you can see it's working, but we need to add the transition speed. So here, 1000, and here, I need to set the duration to be 1000. So it takes 1000 seconds or milliseconds to go from this animation to the blend state. Moving from here to here is 1000 milliseconds, which is basically 1 second. That is the most important thing. So that is the difference between exit time and duration. It is how long am I taking to move from this state to this state. So now let's play this again. So 650, I play and it directly moves over here. Because what's happening here, if you see here, it is going from the entry state to the MS1 animation. It is playing the MS1 animation and then it is going from MS1 animation to the blend state and then playing the blend. Now, it actually didn't play the MS1 animation. So to play that, we actually have to say, hey, you know what? Wait until I finish this animation. So exit after this animation, all right, hits 100%. So that's the difference between duration and exit time. So once this animation is complete of 100%, and as you can see, I've clicked on this one, which is the selected state, then exit to the blend state over a duration of 1000 seconds. So exit time is like delay. It is basically delaying the transition. All right. So now if I play this, let's say 650, I play the first animation and I suddenly jump. Something weird happens if you see here. It's super weird. Now, the reason this is happening is because it is actually starting from 0 again. So the blend state has to calculate from 0 to 1000 and so it is going to reset that. What we need to do now is, if this should not happen, now at this point, the value is at 600 already. At this point, the value is at 600. So if I just go ahead and let's say I delete this one, if I click here and play this, at this point, the value is already at 600. So we need to blend just the rest of it. So I'm going to click on right click here and click on blend state. I'm going to add that over here. And now I'm going to combine these two. So I'm just going to turn this off, combine these two. We're going to do the same thing. Wait for the animation to be over 100%, exit after 100%, all right? And then transition over a period of 1000 seconds. Take 1000 seconds to transition from 600 to 50. The blended state here is 50. So now here I have to set basically everything. So click on final score, add both the timelines. So this is going to be progress bar start. This is going to be progress bar end state. Now, here is where things get confusing. Now we had defined that the progress bar start state should look like this, which is basically here, right? And the progress bar end state should look like this. But now this blend state, the minimum needs to be 600 and the maximum needs to be 1000 because I want a number between 600 and 1000, all right? But now the progress bar start state is actually not at 600. The progress bar start state is at 0. So now what we need to do is we need to click on the plus and create a new timeline to decide when the score is at 600, how should that state look? So create a new timeline. I'm going to put it in the middle. And here I'm going to say progress bar at 0 state, progress bar at 600 state, and progress bar at 1000 state. All right. So now if I come over here to the state machine, go to the blend, Now, instead of choosing the 0 state, I need to choose the 600 state. Because at 600 state, the value here should be 600. So now, let's see what happens when I play this. So let's say the value is 650. Play this. Now, as you can see, it didn't play. Now, the answer why it's not playing is super simple. In the 600 state, we didn't really set a keyframe. We didn't really tell Rive how the 600 state should look like. So, because we set it at 0, we set it at 1000, we didn't really set it at 600. So, Rive doesn't know how it's supposed to look at the 600 state. So, let's go ahead and do that. Click on progress bar, click over here, and start. I'm going to set that to 60%. So, now at 0, it's going to look like this, 600 is going to look like this, and 1000 is going to look like this. Now let's go ahead and play this and see if it works. So play this. Now, as you can see, it still didn't play, right? Now you might think we might need to add a condition, but we don't have to add a condition because it automatically just went to the other option that was available, right? Because this one will happen if it is equal to or greater than 780, which 650 is not. So it'll obviously take the other road. Now, the way to fix this is because we're sharing this 1000 state at both these places, it is sort of confusing Rive. Because if I see over here, if I play this, you can see that it's doing something weird, right? It's moving, but it's not really doing it properly, all right? So I'm not going to go into the details of what's happening here. But what we will do is, if I just reset this back, I'm going to create a new state. And I'm going to go ahead and call this progress bar at 780 state. Because now, we're creating 4 different states because we have 4 different milestones. And now here, instead of choosing PB at 1000 state, I will just choose 780 and I will set the value here to be 780. All right. So now let's see if this works. If I play this, now as you can see, it's still not working. And the reason is because here we are going in increments. At this point, we're choosing to blend between 600 and 780. Which means at this point, we want to blend from 0 to 600, not 1000. So now if I change this to 600, now set this to 600, at this point, it's going to blend from 0 to 600. And at this point, it's going to blend between 600 and 780. So now let's see if this works. I'm going to pause it and play. Now, as you can see, it's still not working because we forgot to do one small thing is we need to go to the 780 state and set how the 780 state looks like. So now if I go to progress bar, click here and then choose start at 780 or which is 78%, this is what we get. So now we have 0, 600, 780 and 1000. So now if I come to the state machine, hopefully fingers crossed this works. All right, so I actually did some investigation and I figured out why it was not working. Well, the thing is we did everything right. So as you can see over here, the duration is so many seconds, 10,000 seconds, which is why it is doing it over a period of 3 seconds, or I don't know how many 100 seconds, whatever this is. But let's go ahead and just set this back to 1000 and just keep it simple. Now it should work, right? So if I play this, it does the first one and then it does the second one. Perfect. So finally, we figured out what the issue was. Now, as you can see over here, one thing is that when I play this, the animation from here to here is quite boring. It's very linear. So here in this transition, I can choose the interpolation. So if I click on the cubic over here, and let me see if I've got the same things, I can probably copy the same ones. So I'm just going to copy the same thing, copy that, and come back here to the state machine. And in the transition, I'm going to just paste these values so we got the same easing. All right, so now let's play this. Okay, now it looks super cool. All right, I'm just going to pause this. So let me play this again. So now it works and it works again, right? Fantastic. Now, the first one, if I set this to, let's say 400. So let's actually stop this, set that to 400. Now, if I play this, here it's quite linear, but if you see the transition, I can't set interpolation over here. But for this one, I can set interpolation. But for this, I can't. So anything from entry is not working. So the way to fix it is to add like a idle state or a dummy state or a freeze state, right? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this progress bar at 0 state, which is basically the default state over here, okay? And then I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to link this to this. and then link this to this, all right? And so this, I want this duration to be 1000 seconds. And now here for this, I can choose the interpolation and I can just paste that, all right? So now it's basically going to go to this limbo state or this ideal state at progress bar is at 0 state and then quickly transition to blend. So let's play this and see. Now you can see it works. So if I go to the console, you can see it's going from entry to the progress bar 0 state immediately. And then it is going to the 0 state. And then it is basically playing the 0 state, which is nothing really because it is immediate. And then from progress bar at 0 state, we're going to the blend state. Now here I didn't really add exit time because I don't really want it to play any animation. There's no animation over here. This is just a single state with nothing. So I just wanted to quickly go here and then quickly jump to the blend state. So now if I play this, this is what we get, and it's easing. It is beautiful. It is phenomenal. I love it. Now we're going to do the same thing for the last one. So if the value is, let's say 900, I want you to go to a blend state again. So I'm going to go create, right click and create a blend state. And here I want to link this one. So click here, link it to this one. We want to again have that same interpolation, paste, and exit time. Finish that second animation, please. So 1000%. And here we can say 1000 milliseconds. Make sure we get milliseconds right. And then here we have 100%. So this goes to the blend state after the second animation is completed. So that's why exit time is 100%. We have this interpolation. Now in the blend states, we will just pretty much do the same thing. Add in our timelines. And here we want to blend from the 780 state to the 1000 state. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to 780. And this one is going to be 1000. So if I increase this, you can see it's not working because let's reset this. Now let's play this. So this is 400, works well. Let's do 600, perfect. Let's do 650. Does the first animation, does the second animation, perfect. Now let's do 780. The second milestone should happen. So 1, 2, perfect. Now let's go do let's do 900. So now first milestone, second milestone, and 900. Bam, there we go. Looks great, looks phenomenal. So this is how we go ahead and use blend states to create these animations that we want to control. We don't want to control from 0 to 600, 600 to 780, 780 to 1000. We just want to control the in-between states. So where we add the blend state over here. Now just a quick recap over here. These animations happen only if a logic is set. If it does not pass the logic, it will take the other road where we don't really have any logic set, right? So hopefully that makes sense. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and animate the star and this circle as well when we reach the certain milestone. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comment sections down below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more amazing, awesome content. And I'll see you guys in the next video. So then take care and bye-bye.